Hello, everyone. I am Laura Rogers, and welcome to Power Hour. This is our weekly show. Say hello to Joelle here. You can see in the
Hello. Hello, everybody.
little roving recorder window. And Power Hour is something that we've been doing for years. It is all about not necessarily any kind of hardcore dev, but things that you can do in Office 365, which is sort of now called Microsoft 365. They sort of gradually, subliminally been changing the name of it. But so we go over just all kinds of different topics that you can do in SharePoint, Teams, Power Apps, Power Automate, and it's just usually just a fairly ad hoc demo for about an hour. And so we don't usually cover any kind of hardcore admin or dev, but and I send out an email the day before, usually the day before, with a newsletter with voting links for you to be able to tell me what topic you want to talk about. So today, the thing you all voted for was Microsoft Teams administration. So even though we're not typically into the hardcore admin stuff, I feel like admins these days, Joelle, tell me what you think, but I feel like admins these days in Office 365 aren't necessarily like IT background people or admin type of historically admin people necessarily.
No, I think it's a mixture. Like, I think sometimes in the larger groups, you have there are IT people for like Exchange and AD, but not necessarily for like SharePoint or Teams. Those people tend to be maybe like
Yeah.
superpower users or something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially in those small and medium companies, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so, and this stuff is changing so fast too. So it's not like anyone learned how to do this in college. So I have an IT background. I started off as an Exchange admin like 15 or yeah, at least 15 years ago. Exchange admin morphed into SharePoint admin, all, server admin stuff. And we all start off in SharePoint in our own kind of from different directions. But I do have an admin background, but when I cover this is all pretty brand new. So this isn't something that anybody with an admin background is necessarily just going to know off the top of their head or would have learned in college. So we're all kind of learning it together. Now, I actually got a certification last year. I got a certification called, I took an exam called MS 300. And I'll share this on the screen real quick. And they've okay,
There
so
you go.
there's the one of us right now, and here's the one of my screen. Okay, so this is my transcript. See, I got this Teamwork Administrator Associate I took deploying Microsoft 365 Teamwork just last year, and I got this Teamwork Administrator Associate certification. So now it's already being retired and it's only valid until March 2nd, 2022. And there's a new one. So this MS 700 one is the one I put a link to in the chat. This is managing Microsoft Teams. So MS 300, the one that I took, is already retired. You can't even take it anymore. And this is the new one if you want to actually study Microsoft Teams admin and learn that in order to go, get an official certification, then you can do that. So let me see, where's the one that we have our pictures in? I lost my desktop sharing display thing with our faces in the corner of it. It's so weird. Hold on. I've got like 15 different things that I'm sorry. I changed there it is. I think that's it. This software is so complicated. I'm sorry.
Is it
Oh, I
freezing up on you?
zoomed. There it is. I had a little button
Aha.
that zoomed out on it. I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay, so there's my desktop.
Too funny.
Okay, so they're here. Now you can at least see us, right? Okay, so this is the exam I was just talking about. Now, so what we're doing today in Power Hour, we're talking about Teams admin. So from the main admin center, you go to Teams, and then I'm in the Teams admin center. So here is where we're going to walk through the Teams admin center. Now, this is only Power Hour is only an hour. So as you can see, there's a whole certification about Teams admin. So obviously in 1 hour, this is just an overview. So, but we're going to go through a lot of just the concepts and where they are, and I'll kind of point out things that are new that weren't in here kind of last time I was in here, but and we'll talk about just, so this is more of an overview. This is not exactly like full-on training. All right, so you start off with your dashboard, and it's got this concept of upgrading that you're going to see. So people who used to be on, companies who used to be on Skype for Business, that's where you're going to know about your upgrade status from Skype for Business. So it's got just some general links to go to some training and some user activity. This is a demo tenant, so I don't have much user activity in it. But that's where you could just see a general overview of a little report. But we'll get more into reports too. Okay, so I'm just going to go down the left side here and go through all these concepts. So first of all, you have your list of teams. And these are teams that everyone has created in your organization. And what is a team? So just a quick little recap. First, there was SharePoint, there was site collections, and then Office 365 groups got invented. And an Office 365 group is comprised of a group of people, but also a SharePoint site, and also some extra things like an email address and the ability to email the group, and a planner and a calendar. But then when Teams came along, Teams is really, it's the chat component on top of an Office 365 group. So an Office 365 group, a team, when you're in there chatting with people and sharing files, the files you're sharing are in SharePoint. Every team does have a SharePoint site. So, I come across so many people, especially because so many people are brand new to Teams and Office 365 and everything, that don't know this. Those of us have been around for, in SharePoint for years. This is just kind of one of those inherent things. And, but you don't realize that it's obfuscated so much that people are using Teams and not even realizing that that is SharePoint. Those files are in SharePoint, the ones you're sharing. So a Microsoft team is comprised of a SharePoint site where the files are, and it's got the whole chat component, and it's got meetings, and but again, SharePoint's behind the scenes. So every single one of these teams you're managing is also a SharePoint site. So you're going to see a lot of these same ones when you're in the SharePoint Admin Center. So I can go manage teams from here. So I have a field office here. And a lot of these settings you used to only be able to do directly from in the team. Isn't that what it was, Joelle? Like a lot of these just sort of managing the team, it was only just the team owner in the team that you could do this, or is that my imagination? I could have sworn.
Maybe it started out like that originally.
Yeah.
I know that they gave this higher level at some point.
Yeah, people like to admin things. Especially as hardcore old school admin people and the server huggers, you like to be able to have control over what's going on in the teams. So here's a team, and it's showing me who the members are of the team. And I can quickly flip somebody to be an owner or a member here, just directly from here. And I can even add new members directly from here. And it's also giving the ability to manage the channels in that team. So here are my channels, and for each channel that we have, there are a few different settings that you can manage. It's got, where did it take me? All right, it took me to the general channel. And it's got, it doesn't really give you anything to change on this screen. That is really weird. Channels, general, and then HR. I can edit. Edit is going to be better than just clicking on it. So if I do edit, that's the settings I was looking for. You can see the name and description of that channel. And you can add new channels, and you can make it a standard or a private channel. Now, Joel, have you ever dealt with private channels? Have you ever
Yeah,
created
I have.
these? What do people use those for?
So usually they'll use it like if they have a team, and I have the guy with the blower.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. The timing is always awful when they show up. Like, hold on a second. But basically,
Um, you don't have to talk if you get a bunch of background noise going on. I'm sorry. You never know. Working from home, right? It's okay. So I'll a
okay, I think
private.
I'm good now. I'm good now. I can answer you
Oh,
now.
okay.
He walked away. Sorry about that. The guy with the blower is right outside the window. My dog can see him, so that's. So anyway, the usually with private channels you'll have like a team, and then you'll have like a leadership group, and they'll create a private channel that they'll just put the leadership group in, and then they can interact and like collaborate on things without the entire team seeing it. I see that a lot in the teams I create.
A private channel is a separate site collection. Isn't that weird?
It is, but the weird thing about it is it doesn't show up in the admin center, like in the SharePoint admin
Oh.
center, like the other team site does. You have to basically like from Teams you can click and get to it, but it doesn't show up like in your SharePoint admin center list, which I think is kind of weird.
Good to know. All right, for those, old school SharePoint admins, a private channel is another entire site collection. Okay, so anyway, that's where I can add channels for a team. And then I can even get to the settings. Now, this is a little weird. The edit button is way up here in the top right. So I can see all the settings for that team, but I have to click edit way up there at the top to be able to go edit all these little specific settings that are usually just some, settings that the team owner will take care of in the team itself, but that's where they are. So that's what you can do in a specific team, and you can add teams here too. And just like creating an Office 365 group creates an Office 365 group, but without the team, that's an extra step. But if you click to add a new team here, it will create the group and the team and everything. All right, so that's managing teams. Then we also have teams policies. Now for the teams policies themselves, there isn't much to it. It's a little weird. At first I thought I was missing something. But the teams policy, the only setting is really, besides the name and description, is just whether or not you want them to be able to create those private channels in that team you're creating. So the policies then can be applied to teams. So I've got you're always going to have a global org-wide default policy. So my default policy for every single team when it gets created for the whole company is that they can create private channels. So I can create different policies though, like I could just, this one's pretty simple. I could create one policy that says can create private channels and another one that says can't. But I created this other policy and I called it students. And I just said they can't create private channels. So then, now that I have the policies, and so this concept that I'm showing you right here with the policies, we've got Teams policies, live event policies, permission, like app policies. So you're going to see this policies concept in a lot of places. So this sort of structure is going to be common across a lot of places in Teams. So that's why this is kind of important to understand how it works. So, and most of the other policies have many more settings than this one. This one just has one setting. But then once you create a policy, you have to say, who does the policy apply to? So that's when you do group policy assignment. So I've only done one so far. So let me show you what that entails. You select a group. So that's going to be a group of people. So I have like, let's see, Contoso. So I have a Contoso renovation is the group that I want to assign this policy to. And the ranking is, okay, so if the users in the group itself are part of any other groups that have a policy, what you're doing here is you have to define sort of how important each policy is and where it ranks compared to the other policies. So this is going to take kind of a little math and logic for you. If you get complex and you have a lot of different policies and people, you have to really kind of plan out and think through what your ranking needs to be set up as. So I've already got one policy that I set as rank 1, then I can set, the rank of this one. And then I say, so this group of people is going to get what policy. And I'm only going to see, the only things that I'm going to see in the drop down are the ones that are not the global default. So I've only created one other policy in this list of policies that's not just the global org default that was already there. You're not going to have the global default showing as an option because it's already the default for everybody. So this is where you want to have a specific group of people and apply some specific other policy to that group. And of course, an Office 365 group, that's a group of people, but it's also a SharePoint site and potentially a team, right? Okay, so that's where you do the group policy. Now, team templates are brand new. I'm going to save this for last because I could potentially do a whole other power hour about team templates, and that was even one of the things I had in the voting. So if I have time at the end of this power hour, I might just do it today. Now we have devices. I don't personally have any devices in my organization. I don't have any conference rooms. I work at home. I haven't purchased any of these Microsoft devices, but that's what everything in this devices thing it applies to. So there's actually hardware called Teams displays. So these are this is the help. It's got a little help button of what are all your devices. So like what is a collaboration bar, and see, this is actual hardware that you're going to have in your conference rooms. So I don't have any of that, but this is where you would manage all those different devices and configure them under the devices section. So it's going to be very short. Now locations, I also don't have any locations or a network topology either in my little sort of demo here. But if you have especially a large global organization, and you want to be able to define your network and topology, and especially when it comes to calling. So when you have, now I'm more just speaking off the top of my head with this, because this is one of those concepts where you're going to deep dive into this when you start studying and taking those exams. And so I'm just basing this off sort of memory of what I've learned about this in the past. I've never done this in Teams. Okay, so this is going to be when you have calling and you've integrated your actual phone system at your company in with Teams, and you're using Teams as your phone system. So then that's when you're going to get really complicated, and you're going to be able to plan out all your network regions and subnets here in your network topology. So you can have all your networks, locations, Wi-Fi access points, switches, and ports, and that all is going to be based on having your calling and having all that tied in with Teams. Again, that's going to be a very short segment because I don't have any of that actually configured. Is anybody, I haven't seen any questions or anything. Let me see. By the way, we have a chat. Sometimes I remember to mention the chat, sometimes I don't. But we are in Teams, and we're using this on the general channel. I put a power hour tab for each power hour. So when you go to the tab, this is where, see, you have to turn on the little chat on the right side, right here. So this is, and the link that you were asking about that I put it under posts. So see, here's the link that I posted. So when you go back to posts, here are a few links right here. I posted one, and then I posted a second one. And then you can toggle back to Power Hour, and that's our conversation. All right? So, see, I'm trying to, Steve says the SharePoint team and Teams team must not talk to each other. I think they're talking to each other more now. But, yeah. I guess Joelle just shouted out if somebody has something that I need to address. All right, and then we have users. Now, in Office 365, there are about 15 different places where you can manage users. You have the admin center, where you have all of your users. And you even have them over like in the Exchange admin center, but Here are all your users. So this is where you can see stuff specific to teams around your users. So I can click on Alex here and I can see all the policies that are applied to Alex. So if I specifically want to, if I'm troubleshooting something, maybe I want to know why one specific user maybe can't allow external sharing, like somebody external is trying to help him with something in Teams in a meeting, and they're trying to, he's trying to do desktop sharing and let them take remote control over his desktop, and he can't. Well, it's because the Teams admin has turned that off somewhere in a policy. So this is where you can go to a specific person and you can see, like I said, if you're using calling, you can see who he's been calling. You can see all the policies that are applied to this person. And I'm going to tell you about policy packages in a minute too. So this is where you can see all of his policies. I can look at them, but I can also click edit. So if I want to manually go in here to a specific person and say his app setup policy needs to be first line worker, that's what I'm going to do. So remember I mentioned when I went into Teams and Teams policies, how this concept of policies is in a lot of different places. These are all the different types of categories of policies that you can have in Teams. It's a lot. But this is just one specific person. As you can see, by default, most of them are just the global org-wide default. But you can see I've given him specific ones in other places. All right, so that's what you can do for one user here. That's kind of interesting that you can just quickly, in like 2 clicks, go see a list of everyone that someone's been calling. Okay, let's go to meetings. So again, same concept. We have meetings and we have meetings policies. When Teams was newer last year, when I got that certification, this group policy assignment thing didn't exist. I think it was only something that you could do with PowerShell. So this is kind of, I was hoping that this would finally be in here. So this is kind of important, the ability to actually assign policies in bulk and not have to do it one person at a time. So we've got all our meeting policies. So again, this is the global org-wide default. And I've got it actually automatically creates, you might have some other default policies in here like kiosk. Let's go look and see what it entails to create a policy for meetings. So I'll say I want my policy to be called students. So maybe I'm a university and I've got students, they have accounts in Office 365, and I want to be a little more strict about what the students can do when they're in meetings in Microsoft Teams. So I can say allow the Outlook add-in. You can see there are 100 different settings in here that you could possibly set up in here. But you could say maybe I don't want them to give control. I was in a meeting with a customer the other day, and the button for allowing control, like the request control button for me to be able to help her and do something on her desktop, was grayed out, and it said that the administrator at her company had disabled that so that she couldn't allow me to do desktop sharing. So that is where that setting is. So maybe I don't want them to bypass the lobby or do Meet Now, or I don't want to allow them to chat in meetings or something like that. So this is where I can get very granular about what the policy entails, and it's got little help links for every single thing. And then I'm just going to click cancel. And then once I've created my policies, this is where I define who, just like with this other one, where I define who the policy is going to apply to. So I'll say, like Contoso, let's see, Contoso renovation, and I want Contoso renovation to have this kiosk policy. And then when I apply that, then you can see it in the list, and then you can change the rankings if you need to. Just same concept with the rankings as the other thing. Okay, then we have, so the policies are things that you can granularly change them and apply specific granular settings to different groups of people, but meeting settings are for everything. That's for all meetings. So just in general for your whole company, do you want to allow anonymous users to join a meeting? Of course. That would be really hard to have meetings with customers if you weren't going to allow anonymous meetings. So I definitely would leave that turned on. And then this is where you can control what your pretty little email invitation looks like. So like at our company at IW Mentor, we have this pointing to our logo that we've got on our website and our legal web page that has legal information. And then you can type a footer. And then you can preview it. And see, here is where you're going to see, notice like if you ever had a meeting with me or you'll see, or if you had meetings with other companies, you'll see their logo in here when they send you the meeting invite. That's where that comes from. And that little thing that I typed, stuff about our company, that's going to show in the invite in that email. So this is where you can control all that meeting settings. And then again, this is network. I'm not going to get into network stuff. Now, besides meetings, we have this concept of live events in Teams. This is where it's more just a meeting is where you're collaborating and talking with a bunch of people. But a live event is really where you're like broadcasting, really just one or two presenters doing something that's broadcasting to a larger set of people. So then you can have live event policies. And same thing, you can assign them to people. So I can say I want maybe IT department allow. So allow transcription, everyone who can record, organizer. So you don't have that many settings for live events, but I am going to allow them to have them. And then let's see. Oh, it's taking a second to save. Someone else is going to answer the phone. All right, and then you have live event settings. So this, again, the policies are the ones that can be granular, and the settings are going to be for everybody. So here's my support URL. If I want people to have a general URL they can get to from every live event. And then I have use it third-party distribution provider. And this is where you are deciding sort of who you're allowing to, whenever you present these live events, to distribute your live video. Okay, and then messaging policies. So Teams is like the team itself. Meetings is actual meetings that you're holding. And then messaging policies, that's the chat, right? So here I've got the global Orgwide default, and then I can create new messaging policies. So maybe I'll do IT department again. IT department maybe can do more than other people can do or something like that. So I do want owners to be able to delete sent messages. I want them to edit. Maybe everyone always gets a read receipt. Chat is going to be, that's the chat in Teams. Whether or not you can chat, of course you can chat in Teams. That would be very restrictive to turn that off, right? But if you have maybe a subset of contractors or something like that you don't want people chatting with, you could turn off chat. Maybe I don't want to allow GIF. They've been goofing off too much in the IT department. I'm going to be really mean and like lock this all down or something like that. So translate, you could see there are just a ton of different settings in here. So this is the chat itself, and those are the settings that you can apply to subsets of people. And then the exact same thing applies with assigning, where you create the policies and then decide who the policies are going to apply to. All right. So then
Lauren had a question.
Yeah.
Live event recipients, do they need to have a Microsoft account of some sort?
I don't think so. I've been to a couple of live events and I literally just clicked the link and I was watching it.
Yeah, I would say the same.
And it's interesting. So what I'm doing in Power Hour, it's kind of like a cheat though, because I'm not really doing a Teams meeting. I'm not doing a Teams live event. I've always just done this on YouTube, so I'm still doing this on YouTube, but all I'm doing is I created a tab in Teams and I just used the YouTube like little add-in. So I'm still doing just my live YouTube event, but just showing it on a tab so y'all can watch it right here while we're chatting about it. So that's just kind of I feel like it's sort of like a hack where I'm not using any of the actual Teams streaming technologies. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. So, oh, Kelly says it
Yeah. And
depends
I
on
mean, the
how you set up
problem.
the event itself. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
So this,
Yeah,
so
I was
what?
gonna say the issue with live events too is that it's just Q&A, so that like there's no chat, like there's no
Yep.
actual like running conversation. It's just they ask a question, and then if we approve it, we can show it. Otherwise, they're just not going to see the conversation.
Yeah, and that is why we're not using live events for Power Hour, because the whole fun of Power Hour is we like to chat with all of you and have all of you be able to see each other's chat during Power Hour. So this is our sort of little compromise of not actually using Teams for the video, but still allowing you to chat. And so yeah, all live events has is Q&A, and that's really boring. Zach says, where do you create your live event from in Teams? Oh, I've done that once. I
I
don't
believe you can do
remember
it from the calendar.
from the calendar. I don't. Let's
Let me
see.
look.
Let me make sure that. What tenant am I in here?
Yeah, you can do it from the calendar. Just click the new meeting drop down, and there's live event as an option.
Calendar, new meeting, live event. So you will not see this live event option if you don't have live events allowed in your company, though. So you're setting up a live event, blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, this has gotten a lot smoother and easier lately, compared to when it first came out, by the way. So the live event, did I lose that? Where did it go? Oh, live event settings. Here we go. Let's see what the default policy says. Allow scheduling. Yeah, to me that is basically allow live events. Because if this is off, you don't see the ability to create the live event. Okay, so that's live events. Messaging is the chat. And then the apps. Okay, so this is one of my demo tenants. So I'll show you what I have as the settings in here, and then I'll show you the settings in the tenant we're using for this Power Hour, and I'll show you how I've kind of locked down a bunch of it and kind of what the difference looks. So this is a list of all the available apps, and this is just going to already have a bunch of stuff in it. This is like from the Microsoft Store. It's kind of what it looks like. And then you also have permission policies and setup policies. So those are two different things. The permission policies control what apps that you want to make available to the teams. And then the setup policies control how they're made available to a user in the Teams app. So we'll kind of look at a couple of differences there. So by default, in this tenant, which Teams apps are choose which Teams apps published by Microsoft or its partners can be installed by your users. So I'm allowing all apps to be installed by my users. And then third party, maybe you want to block the third party apps. If you maybe you have something sketchy that you're not sure about, or you want to be very specific about only allowing certain apps for certain groups of people. This is where you can do that. So this is where you can say allow specific apps and block all others, block specific apps and allow all others, or block all of them. And same concept with the Microsoft apps. And then choose which custom apps can be installed by your users. These are Power Apps right here. So I think I actually might have done this in a previous Power Hour, but when you go into Power Apps and you create a new standalone app and you're in like the Power Apps web console, there's a Publish to Teams button. So when you use the Publish to Teams button, this screen is where you upload that app that you publish to Teams. And so I'm not going to go through that whole process in this Power Hour because I think I did it in another one. I know I've demoed this before. But these are Power Apps that you're allowing. I'm only allowing specific custom apps. If I allow all of them, then that means anybody can create a Power App and add it to Teams. But I'm tightly controlling which ones that I want to allow people to add to Teams. So then, and so you can create several different permission policies. So maybe I want the IT department to be able to allow all and block all third party and save. And then maybe I want, I'll call another one like the HR department, HR. And I want the HR department, they have some specific apps that they need for HR. So for HR, I can say like, I don't know, let's see. Service desk or something like that. I don't know. So again, you might have specific apps that you want specific groups of people in your company to be able to use, but you want to tightly control that. So this is going to be the HR department, and then this is going to be what apps I'm allowing them to have. But I haven't told it yet who is in the HR department. So I can I can select HR department and do manage users. And then this is where I don't know if I have an HR group. Let's see, HR in my little demo tenant. So this is where you'd go pick that group of people. And you type the name of that group. Toso, I don't know. And you would say, this is the group of people that this HR department policy applies to. And then the setup policies are, so this is different. So this is going to be that left-hand panel. So when we're in Teams, so this is Teams right here, and you're in Teams, and you have these apps down the left side, way over here. Activity, chat, Teams, calendar, calls, files, etc. This is where you're defining what you want listed down here. So this is pretty cool. So you can actually define different sets of icons you want showing here for different groups of people. So I've got, this is my global default. These are the ones that everyone's going to see. And then for my my Wonderlaura tenant, I added this one. I'll show you. Let me see what that looks like. I added a little org chart power app so that everybody in the organization by default is going to see, it's right here, they're going to see this org chart power app, and they're going to be able to go directly to the org chart in Teams. Right, so that is what that setting does. So that's pretty cool. So that is just the global default policy, but I can let me go back up, and I can say I want like the HR to be able to, and this is also where you define if you want people to be able to upload their own power apps right here. So if somebody is in has a setup policy applied to them that doesn't allow them to upload custom apps, that's why they won't have the button that allows them to put their own power app in Teams. So I don't want the HR department to upload custom apps. I might want the IT department to be able to. And then this is where you can add apps that you want them to automatically have. So let me see, like Asana or something. So this app is what they're going to be installed for my users that are in this policy applies to. And this is what the pinned apps are going to be. Maybe I could even take away some of these default ones if I want, and I can rearrange them. See, I can move this one down. I want chat to be on top maybe, and then Teams, and then maybe I don't want them to have calling at all. And I can even add to this group. So I could say Asana. So then whoever I apply this policy to, this is what their little toolbar is going to look like. Is that cool? Did y'all realize you could do that? Zach says he created ZachBot that shows up for everyone. That's awesome. Willis says, does this include Project Oakdale apps? Project Oakdale apps exist inside of a team, a specific team. So Project Oakdale apps can't be applied to the left side down the list with all the apps, because you have to go into the team where that app is to be able to get to the Project Oakdale app, and then those are going to be on the tabs in that team. I know it's a little confusing. That's why I always just create a Power App as a standalone Power App just from the main web.powerapps.com. Just create them all there, and that way you can put them in Teams, you can put them in the left panel, you can put them in SharePoint, you can embed them in SharePoint pages, you can do anything you want to with them, and you don't have any of those restrictions of like, well, if you create it in Teams you can do this, if you create it in a SharePoint list you can only do that. You can, so that's my that's my little rant about different types of Power Apps. Don't get me started, right? Okay, so those are the Teams apps policies, and then let's go look at I'll show you the Teams policy that I did for this specific, this is basically like a little demo tenant that we're using for Power Hour. So I'll show you what I did for Power Hour. I only wanted to allow YouTube. So I've got my, this seems like it looks different than I had in the other window. I wouldn't be surprised. So that's just the list of apps. Here's my global Orgwide default, and then admins. So the Orgwide default is allow specific apps and block all others. So I'm only allowing YouTube, and I'm blocking custom apps. And then for admins, that's going to be like me and Joelle, I'm just allowing all. And then for the setup policies, the global Orgwide default is that I didn't do anything special for that. All right. So that's what I did on the tenant that you all are in right now. Okay, let me go back to my other little demo tenant, because I don't want to, I'm just kind of like randomly changing things and messing things up in it and not worrying about it. So that's why I'm doing it in this one. So we went through Teams apps. Then we've got voice. Now again, voice is going to be one of those things that I don't have anything set up in here. This is going to be for when you have your voice system at work, you're calling connected and integrated with Teams. So this is going to have all where you're going to have your whole list of phone numbers for your company, and just routing, voice routing, call part, calling policies, caller ID. I don't have any of that set up, and that's going to be definitely more advanced topics that I don't have time. I don't have the knowledge, and I don't have time to go into it in a 1 hour overview. Now, this concept, policy packages, this is brand new. This was just in the like Microsoft Teams, what's new in October list of stuff. So this is pretty cool. So you saw kind of all how complicated what it was, and all the steps that I had to go through, and all the different places I had to go to set up all the policies, and kind of how much work and thinking is required for that. Well, if you don't feel like doing that, and you just have like, say, one of these generic generic types of policies that you want to apply to people in your company, that's what these are for. So these are specifically created as sets of policies that you can apply in your company without having to go through all that work and go through all these different places. So if I am a hospital and I have a lot of clinical workers, and I want to just apply a set of policies to the clinical workers, I can go look at these. So it's got healthcare clinical worker, and it's got all the policies, the messaging policy, which would have been down here on the left, the meeting policy, which would have been in here under meetings, and then the app setup policy, which would have been down there under Teams apps. So all these are pre-created policies for clinical workers. Is this cool? Had you all seen this before? The policy packages. All right, so let's go look at what this looks like. So for messaging, ooh, they're really strict. Look at that. So, oh no, they're not turned on. They're just grayed out. So you can't change them in here on this screen. You just have to hit edit. So they kind of want you to go through an extra step. If you're going to edit I'm editing the actual original policy package that was in here. Now you can create your own policy packages so you don't have to worry about messing with the ones that Microsoft has provided. But this is what it looks like if you wanted to if you want to use the healthcare clinical worker and actually maybe change one or two things in it, like I want to change the Giphy content rating to more strict, then that's how you can actually edit that. So those are the policies for healthcare clinical workers. And then what you do is, and this part's a little odd to me that you have to do it this way, but I can go manage users, and let me go like look at my list of users, all my little test users real quick. So Carrie, let's see, pick Carrie here. So I have to check the box next to a policy and click manage users. And then I go Carrie, and I can add Carrie. Do I have any groups of people? Let's see. Accounts payable, I think, is a group. Let me try. Let's see. No. I think that you can add accounts payable. I'm trying to look for different types of groups that I have in now. Distro all. It's not. I think maybe I'm only allowed to add users, or for some reason I'm not. It just says users here, so I think it doesn't want me to allow me to add groups. So this is where you have to go pick your users to apply that policy to them. So now I picked Carrie first, and I picked healthcare clinical worker, and I individually just added it to that one person. So then if I'm ever in here trying to troubleshoot something with Carrie first, and I go to her user account in here, then that's something that's going to show under, see, now it's under her policies. So now I can see that in just what policies are assigned to her, it's showing me these 3 policies that are applied to her. Now, if I go to a different user, if I go to like Janet here and go to policies and I edit her policies, let's see, meetings. See that now that I've used healthcare clinical worker on at least, I've applied it to at least somebody, now it's actually showing here, and it's showing as something that I can pick from and apply it to somebody individually if I want to. But by default, all those policies from the policy packages are not showing just when you're in here editing a specific person. I'm curious now if I go to meeting policies. Yeah, so now when I go to meeting policies, there's healthcare clinical worker. And now, let's see. Yeah, and now when I go to this the team setup policies, now it's there. So as soon as you use one of these policy packages, then it's going to show all over the place in all the different places where you see policies. It's pretty interesting, right? So you could just go take one and add it to one person, and then you at least see it in all the other places. So that actually makes it easier. So now that I've got healthcare clinical worker over here, like in my meetings policies, let's go back to my meetings policies. I can go to group policy assignment, and now let's try that. So I've got Contoso, sales Contoso, it's the salespeople. So now this is where I can apply that policy to a whole group of people. So when I went straight to the policy package, so this seems like a little hack, like a little tip, like a workaround, because it was not the smoothest thing to figure that out. So once I added the policy package to one person, then that sort of lit it up in all the other places. And then it only let me assign it to users on that screen. But then once it created and exists in all my little lists of policies, then this is where I can go apply that policy to a group of people. Interesting, right? Do you think y'all are going to try this? Yeah, there isn't a way right now, Jamie, to control Oakdale environment creation. Yeah. Yeah, and that's totally, unfortunately, it's not in any of this stuff. Okay, so that was policy packages. We also have analytics. So I can go to Teams usage, apps usage. So let's look at Teams user activity for the last 90 days. So this is where I can go if I'm just curious about how much people are using things. Devices, live events, things like that. I can get these pretty little charts. I can also export it to Excel, do full screen, and I can edit the columns. So this allows me a little bit of control over what I see and don't see in this report to kind of narrow it down. But that is the extent to which you can customize these little pre-created reports. You can say the date range and then which of these little specific reports. So that's nice. It's better than nothing. I'm not sure how useful this set of information is going to be to anybody, but may as well try it out. We also have org-wide settings. So org-wide means it's not something that's just going to be in one specific policy that you can apply to groups of people. It's for the whole organization. So I definitely recommend leaving external access on. If you turn that off, then people wouldn't be able to have meetings with anybody external. So just leave all that turned on. But you can also, if you want to narrow it down to specific domains, you can specifically allow or block certain domains. So maybe if you aren't allowing it in general, but you're only allowing it for certain ones, you can do that. Guest access, that's guest access in Teams. So like, for example, in the Teams, in the one that we're using for Power Hour, of course I'm allowing guests because you all are all guests. So for guest access here, I am allowing guest access, or else all of you wouldn't be able to be in the Power Hour team right now. So, but then once you turn on guest access, you can get very specific about what you're going to allow guests to do. So I'm not allowing you all to click meet now and meet with each other and make private calls, and but you can do all these things. And I've got like a little Giphy content rating. So that is what, once you allow guest access, that is what you're allowing guests to do for the entire organization. And then team settings, again, for the whole organization. Just again, more settings having to do with tagging, email integration. So you notice in Teams, you have every single channel in Teams. You can right click on the channel and choose, and it will give you the email address of that channel. So this gives you the ability to turn that off for the whole organization if you don't want people to be able to send email to a channel. And then if you don't want people to be able to use all these other third-party places for the files that they're sharing, you can turn those off, etc. And then Teams upgrade, that's when you're upgrading from Skype for Business. They have this whole planning thing. I have never tried this. This is like when you're first planning it out and deploying Teams. Teams Advisor, same thing it looks like. Let's see. Now, the thing that I skipped was the team templates. And we have 7 minutes left. So we'll just see, how, if it's so awesome and so amazing and we want to deep dive into it, we'll see what you all want to do. But team templates exist now. So if I go into Teams and this is just the regular Teams interface, and if I click to create a team, have you all seen this? This just came out in the last couple of weeks. Look at this. You have all these templates you can pick from. Oh, yay. Employee onboarding, help desk, hospital, incident reporting, a store, quality and safety, retail. So look at all those templates you can pick from. That is so cool. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one. I'm just in Teams right now. I'm not in the admin. So when I pick to create a team from a template, it shows me what the channels are going to be and what the apps are going to be in that template. And I'll just say it's a private team, test, event, template. And while we're going, it's creating the team. I'm going to flip back over to the admin center. Okay, so the one that I just created was manage an event, I believe. So I'll click on manage event. So what does the team template consist of? It tells you what channels it's going to have and the tabs in each channel. You can define all that in your template. And then it's also showing, you can tell it what apps it can have. So what we can do is create a brand new template too. So you can create your own template, and when you create a new template, you can either create brand new from scratch and completely create everything yourself in that little interface. You can use an existing team, which means you've already created the team in Teams and you've already got it all set up the way you want. You can just pick that. Or you can start with an existing template. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with an existing template, and I'll just say manage a project. That one's... So now it is creating the team template called manage a project. This is like, I clicked on the name of it to look at what it looks like. See how it took me to another tab? So what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at what that template has got in it. And now I'm back in the little create new, pick which one you want to create it from. So I pick which one I want and click next, and then manage a project, and I'll say Laura test, and give it you can give it a description and stuff. All right, so here, this is the interface for creating your new team template, and I've got all my channels. So I've got general announcements, resources, and planning, and in planning I have a OneNote, and then I have these two apps. So when I add channels in here, I'll call this one, let's see, I've already got resources. I'll call it tasks or something. Now Microsoft hasn't renamed, Planner is going to be called tasks soon. They haven't renamed it yet though. So I'll say I want tasks to be the name of my new channel that I'm adding. And I can add multiple tabs too. Let's see. I'll just do one. That's weird how it says one tab, but then it doesn't have like a... I guess each tab has to be an app like that. Again, this is all brand new. So I've got tasks and I've got planner. What happens if I click on that and edit it? Yeah, then I can add more. And like for resources, let's go to resources and edit that, and I'll add SharePoint. So when I do SharePoint, I can pick from that. And then I can even rename it. I'll call it SP. Interesting. Okay, so then I'm submitting. I created my new template, manage a project Laura test. Now let me toggle back to the one that I just created. Oh, see, it's still creating the one from the template. I figured that would take a few minutes. So it's still creating it. But now I've got a list of all my team templates. Now I could delete them if I want to. If I don't want people in my organization picking from one of these templates, I have the ability to just go in here and get rid of them as the admin. What do y'all think about that? Is that cool? Let's see, it's still taking a minute. Test event. Well, it says test event template. I think it's still creating though, because it doesn't. Because the little spinny wheel was still going. All right, go back to Power Hour. Our Power BI connectors available for Teams Analytics? Probably, but I have no idea. I've never tried that. Oh, you haven't moved to Teams yet, Lisa? Drag them kicking and screaming. Microsoft kind of yanked everything else out from under you. Like Skype for Business is just, you can't even use it anymore. It's not a thing. Now, again, I'm not sure if templates are worth having a whole Power Hour about, but it's pretty big. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just, as long as you understand the concepts of channels and tabs and the apps that are on your tabs, then that's going to make sense. So look, here's my test event template. Notice that it says 6 hidden channels. So remember when I was creating that template, it had, see, shown by default. So this shown by default thing is going to make them not hidden. So see how these say they're all hidden? So if something is shown by default, then it'll already be showing here, and I don't have to go unhide it. So I have to go in here and like click show next to each one of these. It's kind of annoying. Okay, and then one more. Oh, see, when I unhide it, it's still, there we go. All right. And then you can see that budget, I didn't add any special tabs to it. Content, logistics, planning doesn't have any. Marketing PR, see, it actually had an extra tab built in here where it's going to have like, this is just a place where you can put your company video channel. So it didn't actually put a website on here by default, but this is where potentially you could have that in as part of your template. Man, templates used to be so horribly painful. I'm so excited that they're actually useful now. I'm going to flip back over, Joelle, to the thing video of both of us. There we go. All right. That was interesting, right? What do you all think? Are you all ready to go admin teams now?
Ready to pass that certification.
Yeah, go. That certification is hard. That one I took, it was really hard because it was pretty technical. Lisa says, do you think Microsoft will ever remove Wiki as a default tab? Well, you could do it yourself and maybe, I don't know. Well, that's a good point because all those default ones that I didn't do anything with, they all just had Wiki. Doesn't even give you the option to remove it. Yeah, that is super annoying. I agree, Lisa. Awesome. Yeah, Teams admin is much more useful than it was at first, so it's come a long way. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Next week we have, I'm speaking at a RenCore online conference. It's a little sort of a mini summit. Let me get that link to you all. It's called the RenCore Mini Summit. And it's called the Power Automate Mini Summit. Get you all the link. I'll put it in the chat. Actually, I'll put it on the post channel. And that is on the 10th. And then we have Power Hour on the 11th. And then the week after that, I'm speaking at Tech. Tech stands for the Experts Conference. It's Tech 2020. It was actually going to be in person. It was going to be in Atlanta. And so now it is an online conference, but it's the 17th and 18th. So, and I put a link to that in the newsletter I sent out. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. And if you are an Ultimate member, we have our Ultimate Office Hours this week on this Friday on the 6th. And that's a fun little more interactive meeting where we all talk together and we help with issues and questions and things like that. So I will see you all at that. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Over and out.
Thanks, everybody.